Have you always wanted to play a Retribution Paladin, but maybe you want less keys on your key bindings, or a smoother rotation, or just something chill to play while having fun in World of Warcraft? Then this guide might be for you. In this video here, I will show how you can use the single button assistant and still do very great damage, basically min-maxing with the single button assistant. Of course, sure, you won't be as good as the people from, the top guilds, but you're still gonna be doing pretty well and you're gonna have a fun time and it's easy to play. So in case you want to learn more about the Retribution Paladin using the single button assistant and how we can min-max that, in this video here, then I will go through the stats, the talents, the rotation, and even showing you a glimpse of gameplay. So keep on hanging if you want to learn a little bit more, but let's get to it. So when it comes to stats, always, as usually, I always recommend the highest eye level. So that means if you find an item that is a higher upgrade level than what you have, you should always take that, in my opinion. So for example, if you have a veteran item and you find a champion item, I would always take the champion. So you go from adventure to veteran to champion to hero to mythic. So basically, every time you find an upgrade item that is like an armor or weapon that is like high upgrade level than the one you already have, I would always take it no matter what, because it's going to give you so much more main stat, which is strength. Also, of course, a bit more stamina, but it will give you so much more strength, which is just increasing everything you do. Then, if you get an item that has the same item upgrade level as the item, well, you already had, that is when, for example, I have a champion helmet here. As you can see, I got a champion helmet, and if I got another helmet which also was a champion helmet, then I would start looking at the secondary stats. First of all, we have Mastery. Mastery is just such an amazing thing. It increases your holy damage, and basically almost everything you do is dealing holy damage. It also has a chance to make Judgment, cast like a blast the target with the light, dealing 8,000 holy damage. But basically, it just increases all the holy damage, which is great, because we need that. It's nice to that all your spells is basically just increasing more damage, which is top notch. Then, secondly, we have Critical Strike, because we like to do big damage. And also, we have tons of, like you can see here, if I search on crit, we got tons of talents, which is giving us more crit, which is giving more crit damage. It is just a build that, like, Red Palace is just like loving crit. So we especially like crit, especially stuff like this one here, Burn to Ash. When troops wake Critical Strike, its duration extended by 2 seconds. So the burning effect you get from Wake of Ashes would actually extend itself whenever it crits, and the more crit you have, the bigger chance this can actually happen. But again, like, we have many talents which increases the crit chance. We have many talents that actually give us more crit damage, so crit is nice. Then we have Haste. You're probably thinking, why is this not the best one? Why isn't Haste the most reliable for Red Paladins? Well, actually, why is that we almost have spells to use all the time. We don't need haste really to reduce the cooldown on our spells, because you basically all the time have something to cast. You are very unlikely to have times where you don't have anything to cast, where you're just waiting. We have something to cast all the freaking time, and it's fast. It's a really fast spec. So having more haste that increases our attack speed, increases our rune regeneration, or increases reduces the cooldown on our spells. It also reduces the global cooldown a little bit. It actually doesn't do that much. Mastery and crit makes the entire rotation just go so much harder and feel more valuable, where haste can make it a little bit more faster, but you don't need it to be faster. It's already super fast. Of course, haste is not bad, don't get me wrong, but we just don't need it as much as other classes, for example. Lastly, we have Versatility. Versatility just flat out increases your damage and decreases the damage you take. It's great for solo players if you really want to make sure that you can do delves easy and so on. But still, usually I would just go with whatever we have here at the top here. But again, Mastery, Crit, Haste, Versatility. So let's get to the talents. Alright, so when it comes to talents, before I started the talents, all my talents that I have is actually saved on my Discord, so you can join my Discord server, and there will be a room called Retribution Paladin, and all my talents will be there, so you can easily take the export code from there, import it direct into your game. So you go to the Discord, you copy the code I have, you go here, import, and then boom, you now have the same talents as the ones I have in the build or the videos. just to let you know if you want the talents easily. But talking about talents, we technically have 3 different talent specs for this one here. It's very unlikely that I normally have 3 specs for this build here, because usually the dungeon build and the delve build and the leveling build is kind of the same, because they are very like close to what you would be using. But actually here we have a build that is like way better for delves, because it has more self-important, like more like self-healing, more self-sustain, and it has like less cooldowns on a lot of like things, and it has more like bursty spells you can use all the time. So first of all, we have a dungeon build. The dungeon build is of course focused on dealing AoE damage. So for example, we have like where Blade of Justice deals damage to multiple targets, and also enemies hit by Divine Storm takes 20% more damage from Consecration and Divine Hammers, which of course we're dealing damage with from the Templar. We are using Templar in all our talent builds. In my older video from the recent patch, we used Hero of the Sun, because that was made the beta in the beta. Wow. But right after the game released, nope, no one is using Hero of the Sun anymore. Now everyone is Templar again. So that's why I feel like we needed an updated video. But basically the dungeon build here is all about dealing like a little bit more damage to AoE, and we are also prioritizing Radiant Glory over Execution Sentence, because then it means that you will be getting wings every 30 seconds. You can also remove Radiant Glory and go with Execution Sentence if you want a little bit more burst on AoE, but basically what you're going to trade off is that you're not going to have wings every 30 seconds instead of having wings like, because if you take Execution Sentence, you're going to have wings every 1 minute, and you need to use the cooldown yourself, where with this one here, you don't have to use it, like you just have it like passively all the time, which is quite nice. Every time you use Wake of Ashes, you will get wings for 12 seconds, but every 30 seconds, which is quite amazing. So this is the build that is recommended for dungeons. Very highly inspired, used from Wowhead. Wowhead has made this build here, and I honestly was trying to see if I could change anything just to like say that it's like my build, but I can't find anything I want to change in this one here. It is just too perfect. So yeah, Wowhead, you really nailed this one here. Then we have the raid build. The only difference between the raid build and the dungeon build is actually it's very low. Like the only difference here is that we don't have these 2 AoE spells anymore, but now we have a spell here that Judgment deals 10% increased damage and increased movement speed. We also have hold on a second. Yeah, we have 2 stacks in this one here, which Crusader Strike and Auto Attack deal 20% increased damage and deal 20% increased critical strike damage. And we have taken out Radiant Glory and taken Execution Sentence instead, because you basically on bosses you kind of want to control when you want to burst and not burst. So that's why we have taken off this one here, and also so you can have wings longer time, because with this one here you're only going to have wings on for 12 seconds every 30 seconds, where here you're going to have wings on for 30 seconds every minute. So it's kind of like a win trade. But also this one here is great because after like you use Execution Sentence in your single button rotation, and then all the damage you've done to the target for for the last 10 seconds is going to like explode on them, which is great for bosses. So yeah, so that's the main difference between the raid and the dungeon build. Then we have the delve build, which is very differently from both of them. This build here is way more focused on having spells that you basically have spells you can use all the time, because as you can see, we're not using any more Crusading Strike, which is a passive spell. Now you actually have Tempo Strike. You still don't have to worry about that because it's still inside the single button assistant, so don't you worry about that. But now we got Tempo Strike now, which means you have something to do all the time. Like you have spells to cast all the time. And the thing is, when you're in delves and leveling, you're moving between mobs all the time, and you kind of want to deal a lot of damage to mobs all the time, because you keep like running from mobs to mobs to mobs to mobs to mobs. Where also on the left side, for example, we have Brought to Light, which is a spell where every time you kill an enemy that is like the same level as you, they explode, deal damage and healing, which is quite insane. So it's just like a build which is way more focused on like, you know, healing, self-sustaining, and just like you just have something to cast all the time. Like, you know, we have the wings every 30 seconds. We have the execution spell to deal more damage to elites if needed. We have the Templar Strike we can use all the time. We still have a bit AoE damage. We still have a bit like a single time. So you can kind of like see the dungeon build is a purely AoE build for doing mythic dungeons. The raid build is a purely single target build. And then you have the Delve build, which is kind of like a middle ground, but also very unique at the same time. So yeah, that's the 3 builds I have. And again, all the builds is on my Discord channel. So in case you want to try them out, go to the Discord and pick them up. So when it comes to rotation, it couldn't be easier. Retribution Paladin is definitely the winner, one of the winners. Like a lot of the other specs is also easy, but don't get me wrong, Retribution Paladin is just such a awesome spec with the single button assistant because it is just so goddamn easy. With the single button assistant, it is using Blade of Justice, Divine Storm, Divine Toll, Final Verdict, Judgment, Wake of Ashes. In the raid build, since we don't have Avenging, like the Avenging Wrath spell, the buff that you actually give your wings, we don't have that in the dungeon build and the Delve build because we have this talent here which automatically gives us them every 30 seconds when we use Wake of Ashes, which is inside the single button assistant. But in the raid build, we don't have this one here. So we have to use manually. Like if you switch over to the raid build, you will see here in the bottom here that we actually need to use Avenging Wrath. But this is to give us more control over our burst. We don't want to burst like in this, like we don't want to pop wings in the start of a phase where we know that we're not going to do maybe damage or something like that, if you know what I mean. So that's why we want to control that. But going back to the dungeon build as an example first. So again, the single button assistant is basically using every single spell you need to use in your rotation, especially the dungeon and delve build. So, I mean, technically, when you approach a big mob, a group of mobs, you actually just press 1, and you will see automatically it's going to use Blade of Justice, Divine Storm, Wake of Ashes. Wake of Ashes is automatically going to use your wings. Then it's going to be using Hammer of Wrath, because Hammer of Wrath is getting replaced by Judgment when you have wings on, and it's going to be using your Hammer of Light, which is coming from the Templar build. And now it's just going to go through the normal rotation of Blade of Justice. Divine Hammers are coming from like its own source. You can see here Divine Toll summons Divine Hammers. But now it's just going to go through all the spells, and it is so nice because it automatically knows when to use single target spell and when to use multiple target spells, which is so nice. So it knows that I'm standing here, so it should never cast Final Verdict. I'm pretty sure it's called that, Final Verdict. Yeah, it knows it never to use Final Verdict because we are like attacking multiple targets, so it doesn't have to use that. But if I changed to this mob over here and I started doing like damage to it, it would replace my Final Verdict, my Divine Storm with Final Verdict. Okay, now of course it doesn't work because it still thinks we are in combat with those over there. So we're just gonna run out of the city and get in again. But when you're fighting a boss or something like that, getting out of combat and getting in again, then you will see that it will automatically know when to do it. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to go over to this mob here and we're going to start attacking. And now you will be seeing that it still don't want to do it. It's probably likely because this mob over there is like, it thinks these two mobs standing next to each other. Hey, look at that. It actually used Final Verdict this time. But it still thinks this one over there is like close to us. So this is why I personally think it's a very bad, like a dummy area that Blizzard made. I way better like the one they had in the War Within, because you could actually have mobs with a big distance between them. But for example, we're going to go to the PvP area now here. So if you see, if I attack this one here, it will now start using Final Verdict and not Divine Storm. So you can see that. There we go. Now it uses Final Verdict. Because up there, it believes that we have mobs everywhere around us all the time. But you can see it automatically now uses Final Verdict over Divine Storm. And if I go to these 3 mobs over here, it now automatically knows that it's supposed to be using Divine Storm. There we go. I mean, videos never go as planned, right? And again, if we switch back to this one here, it will then start using Final Verdict again. So you can see that already now, Final Verdict. It's just that area up there is a little bit bugged. So Blizzard, please, next time we make a dummy area, could we have a bit space between the mobs? That would be nice. Cool, yeah. So that's basically the rotation. You have your single button assistant from your spell book, you drag it down here, and then it's going to go do your entire rotation, and it automatically knows when it's single target and it's multiple targets. Easy peasy. Then, as a tradition, we of course going to talk about the other spells we have down here. So, secondly, we have Word of Glory. It's a spell that uses free holy power to heal yourself. You can also use it on your friends, like to heal them as well. It's a great spell. Just keep in mind that your single button rotation is keep using your holy word. So you might like see, hey, I can use my holy word now, and then you press single button again, and then it's like, oh, it actually just used all my word, holy words, so holy power. So you kind of have to like be careful. Like if you need that self healing, you gotta stop pressing that single button assistant whenever you see like it's ready to be used, because else it's just gonna eat it. Like it's just gonna eat it all the time. So yeah, but that's a quick instant cast self healing. Then we also have Flash of Light, great spell as well. It heals quite a lot. Well, not quite a lot, but it's a fine healing spell, and you can also cast it on your allies, which is great. In case you really want more self-healing with Flash of Light, you can also take the talent here called Selfless Healer, which is going to increase the effectiveness on it on allies. Flash of Light is 30% more effective on your allies, and 40% of the healing done is also healed to you. So it's not going to make it better on you, but it's going to do so if you heal someone else, it's going to heal them, but also yourself, which is kind of cool. But it's not really going to help you anyway, so yeah, just letting you know it's there. Then we have Divine Protection. Usually Divine Protection is one of those spells back in the Dvalin that I really didn't care about, because it just reduced the damage you took by 20 or 30%. Now it reduces all the damage we take by 30%, but they took the Shield of Vengeance and put it inside Divine Protection. So when you have this talent here, now when you use Divine Protection, it's also going to give you a shield of 70% damage. Sorry, 70, not 70%, 70, like 0, 1. What am I even saying? 71, 70, yeah, 7, 1, 70. You know what I mean. 70, 70k. There we go. God damn it. Of course, it's going to give more the better stats you have, the more HP you have, the more strength you have, and so on. But it's great because now when you use Divine Protection, it reduces all damage you take by 30%, but it also gives you that shield. And deals damage when the barrier fades or is fully consumed. So when the shield expired, it bursts to inflict whole damage equal to the total amount absorbed. So I mean, it can absorb 70k, so of course it's just going to give 70k back again. But 70k is actually quite a lot because the final verdict deals 9k damage. So I mean, that's like almost 7 of final verdicts, which is quite nice. So yeah, just letting you know, it's a very, very important spell, and I basically, every time I pull big groups when I level or do delves, I keep using it. Don't save it, just keep using it. Using it. Then we have some important spells. We have our crowd control spells here. We have Rebuke, Ham of Justice, and Blinding Light. This is very importantly, because when you do dungeons, for example, it's very, very importantly that you actually interrupt mobs. So imagine this mob here was casting a spell, which is very important you interrupt. Then first of all, if it's a single target mob, you can use Rebuke to interrupt them. Boom. Now you have interrupted them and they stop casting the spell. Trust me, this is so important, and if you don't interrupt, people can technically be mad at you if you don't interrupt. But it's very important you interrupt as a DPS. Then, in case it starts casting a spell again, you also have Ham of Justice, which is going to stun them for 5 seconds and only has a 30-second cooldown. Then, in case multiple mobs are casting spells at the same time and you want to interrupt them all at the same time, you have Blinding Light, which is also interrupting them all. So you got a single target interrupt, which only has a 15-second cooldown. You have a single target stun, which has a 30-second cooldown. And you have an AoE stun interrupting, which has a 1.5 minute cooldown. So these 3 spells here are so important, and I've had people contacting me and say, hey, could you try mention more about crowd control in your videos, because we see a lot of people who doesn't use crowd control. So yeah, please use these when you're doing DPS in a dungeon, because it's going to make you look so much better, and people do tend to see if you actually are, because the damage meter actually shows who's actually interrupting, so it will make you look like a superstar if you actually do it. Then we have Divine Steed. It's a spell that basically makes you get out on your mount for 8 seconds. It gives you 100% speed, which is quite nice for 8 seconds. And we have 2 charges of them. So it's quite nice to like get around if you need. But yeah, pretty cool spell. Then in the dungeon build, we have Cleanse. We don't use it in the Delve build, and I don't think we have it in the Raid build as well. But in the dungeon build, we have Cleanse. Basically, it removes all poison and disease effects. So if you see someone in your group has like a disease or poison effect on them that deals a lot of damage, you can remove it by clicking on it, and boom, it would remove it from that person. Then we also have Blessing of Freedom. In case you see someone actually like not able to move or slowed, you can cast Blessing of Freedom on them, and now they will be able to move freely. It's a great spell, and this is why it makes Paladin so unique. The Paladin is actually a class that can like support people. We can cleanse, we can cast like, for example, Blessing of Freedom on them. We can do so many things as a Paladin. So people don't realize that, but Paladin is a really cool support class that can help other people in your team. Then we have Blessing of Sacrifice. In case you see like your healer taking a lot of damage and you kind of want to help them like taking less damage, you can cast Blessing of Protection on them. And now it's going to reduce, so reducing the damage taken by 20%, but you suffer 100% of the damage that were prevented. So basically for the next 12 seconds, for 20% of all the damage that person is taking is going to you, but when you get below 20% health, it's going to cancel. So don't worry, you're not going to get killed by it, but you're still going to help someone to take less damage. Then we also have Divine Shield. For 8 seconds, you're basically becoming immortal. No one can kill you, no one can stop you, nothing can go through this shield here for 8 seconds. The only thing that can remove it is basically in player versus player, where warriors and priests, they have like Master Spell and Shattering Throw, I believe it's called, or something like that. But in PvP, people can actually remove it. But in PvE, nah, mobs can remove it, and when you use it, you basically are immortal for 8 seconds, which is great. Then we have Blessing of Protection, which is a bubble that you can throw on your party members. It only absorbs physical damage, like physical damage, like someone actually hitting you, but it doesn't absorb like casting, like spells. So in case I cast, for example, Blessing of Protection on a party member, then all physical damage is now absorbed for 8 seconds, but I would still be taking damage from like frost balls or fireballs, and you know what I mean. Then I added down the Recuperate spell down here, because it's actually quite a neat spell, and I don't think many people actually realize we have this spell here. But every single class in the game has this spell here called Recuperate, and I think a lot of people don't know they actually have this one here. So basically it's going to heal you for 50% of your health over 10 seconds. So whenever you get out of combat, because I'm pretty sure you can't use it in combat, right? Yeah, you can use it in combat, but if like you get out of combat like quickly, you run away from the mobs or something like that, and now you get out of the combat, then you can actually use it, and very quickly it makes like a fire, and you heal 50% over 10 seconds. So no more need for sitting down and eating, no more waiting for HP to get back. Just use this spell here, which has no cooldown or anything. You could just use it and heal yourself. So great spell, and I think a lot of people, they just don't know that it exists. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to mention it because everyone has it. Then we have Intercession, which is a spell. If one of your team members, they die, you can actually get them back from death. So basically you're going to resurrect them, which is super cool. So imagine someone dies, you click on them, you click on the spell here, and now they're coming back from death and can join the fight again. Because you also have your normal rest spell here called Redemption, but that one is only working out of combat. This one here actually works in combat, which is pretty cool. Then lastly we have Lay on Hands, which is a great spell. Heals a friendly target for an amount of equal to 100% of your maximum health. So that means I have 222k HP. So if I click on someone and I press Lay on Hands, they will get healed 222k. And it has a cooldown of 7 minutes. But we have this talent here, which the cooldown of Lay on Hands is reduced by up to 60% based on the target's missing health. Also, Word of Glory healing is increased up to 100 on yourself based on your missing health. So Word of Glory, which is our number 2 spell, heals like way more based on our HP, on ourselves. But Lay on Hands is also now reduced cooldown based on how much health we have. So if I use it on someone who already has full HP, then basically it's going to heal almost nothing. But when I'm going to cast it on someone who has like 10% HP, it's probably only gonna have like between 4 and 6 minute cooldown, which is pretty cool. And I use it so many times, like when I level and do delves, like every time I like need some healing, something like that, and all my spells are not ready, then I boom, and now, you know, 22k, 200k healing. And because I had full HP, it now has a 7 minute cooldown, but still, like, it can be shorter depending on how much HP I need. So pretty cool one. But that's basically the rotation. Just remember, in the raid build, you're going to have Avenging Wrath, which is going to be a spell you need to use manually on encounters. So that means in the raid build, you need to use Avenging Wrath yourself. Whenever it's burst time and you need to do a lot of damage, you use Avenging Wrath. But usually on most bosses, you use it in the start and whenever you can use it. But for example, just an example, we have the raid here called March on Quildanas. And on that one, I know, for example, on the first boss, you kind of want to like save. You want to save the burst till it becomes an egg. You need to nuke down that egg. But it only has a 1 minute cooldown, so you can still use the burst before the egg, and then probably maybe 1 or 2 times, and then you have it ready for when it's the egg. But yeah, just trying to give you some examples. But even though the spec here is really simple, I still want to show you how the gameplay looks like. So we're going to jump into a follower dungeon, and I'll just quickly show you how it looks like in real life. Alright, let's try this. We're going to pull the entire room and see what damage we can do, but basically we are spamming 1. It will automatically know when to do single target rotation, multiple target rotation, and so on. But we're just going to run in, take the entire room, hope I'm going to survive. I don't have the best gear on this Paladin, I gotta admit. I only have 178. Just got it to max. I already played a tons of Red Pala on the beta, so don't worry. And I played the war within, I played Red Pala, so I know this class here. I just haven't had the time to gear it up. So the numbers are not going to be like amazing down there. The DPS, you're not going to be seeing 100k DPS because, yeah, I just don't have the best gear. But we're gonna pull the entire room. I popped on Divine Protection. It's a great spell. Gives you that 70k shield. And now we're just waiting for the tank to basically get aggro on all the mobs. Once he has the mobs, now we can start pressing 1. It will automatically now go to Wake Up Ashes. It's gonna put on our wings, and now it's just gonna do like great damage. If we had better gear, it would probably show like about 100, maybe 120k damage down there. But right now it only shows 80k, which I still think is quite good when you think about that I only have like 178 eye level. So still pretty decent damage coming out from like an AoE burst coming from the single button assistant. When you think about the trashy gear I have. But yeah, you use your single button assistant. It keeps making them take damage over time from like a Blade of Justice. Keep taking damage from Wake Up Ashes. Keep using your wings. You don't really have to think about anything like when it comes to the damage. But you have to remember, use heals if necessary. You got 2 of them. Use cleansing if you want to help your team. Use combat risk if you want to help your team. Even lay on hands. If you see the tank about almost to die, use a lay on hands on him or her. She will get, or she or he will fully get almost full healed. You also have your Blessing of Sacrifice, which can help taking damage away from them. Blessing of Freedom, Blessing of Protection. Don't use Blessing of Protection on tanks. I think it's going to take aggro off them. You got your stun, you got your interrupt, you got your mass stun, you got your mount to get like faster around, and you got, most importantly, your interrupt and your divine protection, which is going to give you almost 100k shield, which is going to be such a legendary thing. So yes, some people will be laughing looking at this video. You're not playing the game, you're just pressing 1. Well, it helps us just to do the damage we need by pressing 1, but all the other spells you have down here is as equal important as your damage spells. Now, you just don't need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spells down on your key binding you have to manage, while at the same time managing all these other spells. Now, the damage is just coming from 1 spell, and all the other buttons is basically there for helping you to play even better. So yes, if you do keys between 1 and 5, you can probably easily get around not using many other stuff. But if you're doing like plus 10 keys, you need to use your spells. So I'm just like telling you, just letting you know. But yeah, so yeah, that's the gameplay. So thank you so much for watching this video here. I know I already did a Retribution Paladin video guide in this expansion here, but it was just so outdated and we used the wrong hero trees because the meta already changed, and like everything I said in that video was just like wrong to where we are today. Like it wasn't wrong when I recorded it, it was just wrong now. So I really felt like this spec here needed an update, and also it is my favorite spec in the entire game. I am a huge Retribution Paladin lover, even though I know it was not the first spec I leveled up. I leveled up a Druid first to be able to make all the Druid guides basically for content. But Retribution Paladin will always have a special place. And that's why I wanted to level one now, and I wanted to record the video to make an updated version for you all, since I really love the spec here. So thanks for watching this video here, and I know it's been a little while since I last time uploaded a video. I've just had a little... I've just had a little burnout, I guess. Like, you know, I think everyone has. Like, when I look at my friend list right now, not many people is playing WoW at the moment, and a lot of people is playing Diablo, and that's also one of the things why I didn't play much recently, because Diablo 4 released a new expansion, and I've been addicted to it. Like, I love the new expansion. It's so goddamn fun. So, you know, it's like, you know, in the evenings, I had to pick between, should I make a new video? Should I have fun in Diablo 4? So I just had a really hard time, like, getting back to making WoW content again. But here I am. I am back. I have rested, and now I'm ready to pump out new content again. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you all. Keep in mind, I stream on Twitch every Wednesday and Friday, 9 p.m. CST or 3 p.m. EDT. So maybe I'll see you on the live stream as well. Actually, tomorrow I'll be live streaming, so pretty cool. But thanks for watching. Have a great day. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to subscribe. Or if you want to be supporting even further, you can become a YouTube member on my channel. And your name will basically, you can see over there, your name is going to be over here at the end of the video. And just to show, you know, the support for my channel. So highly appreciate you all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next guide. Peace out.